What if stepping into a refill shop for the first time could change the way you see your whole community? As my guest today says, it's not just about filling a jar, it's about building connection and sparking bigger change. Welcome to Sustainable in the Suburbs, a podcast for the eco-curious who want to live a greener life and are looking for a place to start. I'm your host, Sarah Robertson Barnes, a soccer mom with a station wagon and a passion for sustainable living. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips and honest conversations to help you waste less, save money, and make small, doable shifts that actually fit your real life. Because sustainable living doesn't have to be perfect to matter, and you don't have to do it all to make a difference. Hello, and welcome back to Sustainable in the Suburbs, the podcast where we start where we are, use what we have, and live a little greener, one small shift at a time. I'm Sarah Robertson Barnes, and thank you so much for tuning in. Sustainable in the Suburbs is made possible by listeners like you. So if you've been enjoying the show, one of the best ways to support it is to share an episode with a friend or leave a rating and a review. It really helps new folks find us. You can also come and connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Sarah Robertson Barnes. And if you head on over to the website, so that's sustainableinthesuburbs.com/podcast, you'll find all of the episodes, plus a place to suggest topics or guests that you would like to hear on future episodes. Thanks for being here. This little community is what keeps the podcast going. Today's episode is all about rethinking the way we shop and how small shifts in our daily routines can spark bigger change. A refill store is more than a place to fill a bottle. It's a space where communities come together, where small shifts add up, and where we're reminded that convenience doesn't have to come at the cost of the planet. My guest today is Julie Darrell, the owner and founder of Bring Your Own Long Beach, the very first refill shop in LA and Orange County. Since 2017, she's been helping her community cut down on single-use plastics, try new ways of shopping, and to see sustainability as something approachable and doable. We'll talk about what really happens in a refill shop, how Julie engages her community while navigating the realities of consumer culture, and the joys and challenges of running a value-based business, and what it's like parenting teens in the middle of it all. Here's my conversation with Julie. Hello, Julie. Welcome to Sustainable in the Suburbs. I am so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here too. I'm so excited. I've been following you for a long time. We've been following each other a long time. And this is very exciting.
A long time. We were just chatting off mic. Like, you remember my OG username from 10 years ago?
Has
almost?
It been that long? Yeah.
2016, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
2016. Yep.
So for anyone who's just meeting you right now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yeah, I am in Southern California. My name is Julie Darrell, and I currently own 2 refill shops in Long Beach, California. It's not at all my background. My background was interior design and architecture. I went to art school in Portland, Oregon, and my journey ended up here in California. And I had been going through some personal health things as well as our 2016 elections. And there were so many things that I felt like I'd lost control of. And so one thing I felt like I could do is get a hold of how much I was contributing to the climate crisis. So I started looking at more closely at some of the things that I was doing, like creating too much plastic trash, what kind of chemicals are in my products. We were already on board with bring your own grocery bags and bring your own water bottle. We'd been doing that for years, but I was like, I know there's another step. What is that next step? So I found people like you online and started kind of trying to figure out how I could reduce waste. I knew the mason jar thing was not for me. Family of 4, and it's just not realistic. So I'm grateful I didn't go down that intense path. No judgment to those that did, because sometimes you just need something to kind of spark an idea. But one of the things I kept bumping up against was we're cutting back on a lot of consumption stuff, like buying clothes secondhand and, riding our bike when we can. And I was like, but we all need soap. We all need to wash our hair. We need to buy food. These are all consumables that we go through, but like, why do I have to buy a new container for my shampoo every single time when the one I have, it still works. It still puts shampoo in my hand. So I started playing around with, I looked to see if it existed and it didn't. So a place to refill my things. So I decided to see if anybody else in my community was interested in this. So that's kind of how it all started.
What's it like living in Long Beach now? You said that you're not from the area, and
Yeah.
I'm from like a northern kind of climate too, right? So that if I had the ability to move to a warmer climate, I might. But what's it like? Like, what's the vibe there, and how would you describe sort of the approach to sustainability, the mindset in your community?
It's definitely like a moment to brag about my city because Long Beach is pretty rad. So like I said, I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. We like grew up in a household where my mom composted and gardened, and it was super like normal to recycle and like sort your recycling. That's how we spent our weekends. Like, we got to separate the cans from the paper, it was super ingrained in our culture in Portland. And when I came here, it was, early 20s. I was still figuring out what my life was. And I just, as I started to get more connected with what my waste, looked like and how to reduce trash, I started to naturally make connections in Long Beach with local organizers and businesses and politicians and getting more involved, which was such a game changer for me. When I had my other job, like my real job, in quote, real job, I just went to work every day and I didn't have that community connection. So now that I'm kind of, in this and discovering what is around me, I'm realizing how rad Long Beach is. I mean, we have the ocean, we have, not too far away, we can go on hikes and, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the vibe in Long Beach is super like chill. I lived in LA for a little while and it was great, but it wasn't for me. I felt like it was just a different, a little bit too much hustle for me. I mean, compared to New York, it's not, but for a big city, I felt a little bit, like I was a very small person in a big city. But I moved to Long Beach and I really connected with the relaxed vibe and the acceptance. I mean, it's super diverse and welcoming to all kinds of people. So I am down for that.
Yeah, I've only been for a day. We were passing through, and I did get to pop into one of your shops with a mutual friend of ours, but It was a Sunday, so you weren't there. And we popped into Belcanto Books, and a couple other places that it felt. Yeah, it was interesting because I see them shared by you and our friend, and I was like, oh gosh, these are real places, and it was just really lovely. It was nice. Yeah. So I'd love to hear more about how those first steps of opening the shop unfolded and what it was like building Bring Your Own Long Beach in the early days. So what did those first steps look like moving from an online shop to running your own pop-up and then into the brick and mortar?
Yeah. So when I was experimenting with what this would look like, I made a connection with a local shop that kind of had some cool stuff that I appreciated because it was very focused on local. And I said, hey, would you be interested in hosting a pop-up like zero waste workshop? And she's like, sure, no problem. So, I had already kind of built this online, like little bit of a following with Bring Your Own Long Beach on Instagram and just kind of like trying to highlight things that were already part of the infrastructure here in Long Beach, ways you could hack the system, basically, like going to Sprouts to get bulk refills and just trying to find ways that I could already do these things while I was trying to figure out how I could do this as a business model because it just didn't exist here. And so I did this workshop and I was surprised that like 15 people came. I was like, I'd be happy if one person came.
That's
And
so
we had
many.
like 15 to 20. I didn't get a full count just because people were coming and going. And I had the most basic things that I got in the biggest packaging that I could, which was like vinegar, baking soda. I got some Castile soap and a couple of other refills. And I just kind of brought in some homemade beeswax wraps that I had made, a little utensil set that I had made with, like a fork and a spoon for just bringing out and about, and a container for food. This was all like stuff I already had in my house, except for the bulk refills. So it was just very like, when I think back to how simple it was, and yet it worked,
Yeah, it's the basics. It's such a great place to start.
Yeah. And, so I was still doing my full-time job at this point. So I kept doing just pop-ups whenever I could. And I got into our local farmers market because the market manager was like super excited about this. And I was so grateful that she, saw the potential in it. And eventually it got to a point where I had to quit my job and focus full-time on it. And one of the big like changing, or one of the major turning points was when I met a nonprofit that was local here. It is local here in Long Beach, called Algalita. They're a nonprofit that focuses on education and research on plastic pollution. And I didn't know they existed. They've been here for about over 25 years now. So they've been around for a while, but they at the time were doing a lot of more global scale stuff, but also some local things. They were actually part of spearheading the ban on styrofoam in Long Beach. So I met them at a community event, and they were so excited because they're like, we have a little shop, we just sell things like utensil sets, but we'd love to have some refills here. So they let me set up like one little counter of just like 10 max refills. That's all I had at the time, something like that. And we were just open like during the week when they were there. And it was a very small start, but eventually it started picking up. And it was like, this was late 2017. And then, 2018 really, between the markets and this little my first little brick and mortar shop, it started to really take off.
Yeah, that was really the heyday of when zero waste was taking off pre 2020.
Yes.
Yeah. At the time, you were the first refill shop in LA in Orange County. What was that? What was that like?
It was kind of, imposter syndrome runs deep. And, I would have started this sooner had I ignored those voices in my head saying, who are you? Like, who do you think you are to start this thing that hasn't really been done? How do you know it'll work? Just all of the self-doubt. And, I have never owned a business or ran a business before. I've always worked for somebody else. So there was all of that side of things that were kind of keeping me from going. But yeah, I took that leap and just decided to, it was all self-funded. Like I just had a couple $100 that I spent to, get those first few refills, and just kept going.
Wow. Grassroots. Yeah. And how did the community respond in those early days?
I had a lot of people message me on Instagram. When are you going to have a website? I want to buy the beeswax wraps, or I want to buy the utensil sets. And when are you going to have a store? I'm like, buy stuff from me that I can afford to buy a store. It's that, struggle with don't buy what you don't need, but also buy stuff from me so you can, have this as a real store.
That's so relatable though, with you have to be a business and you have to sell things, but you also don't want to sell things to people. And so that you don't need, right? But I think that you've really found that balance between things that will actually help you buy less, which seems counterintuitive, but also we do still have to buy things. And those are the consumable things that we do use over and over, whether it's food or a cleaning product or a personal care product. So it's one thing to talk about the idea of reducing waste, but I think for a lot of folks, it's another to actually like work up the nerve to step into the refill shop and see how it actually works. So I think it does feel intimidating the first time to be like, can you put it in this, please? Is that okay? Because we are used to things being handed to us in packages. So let's break down how easy and actually like empowering it is to refill something. So for someone who's never been into a refill store before, what does it look like? Like walk us through the process of refilling something.
Yeah. So it's, when you walk in, a lot of people say, do you sell beer? Because we have a bunch of brown, like amber bottles that look like,
The growlers.
The growlers, and they are basically growlers. But I'm like, no, we don't have beer. So it's, we have probably 50 to 60 of that size, bottles, and they're all different kinds of soaps, cleaning products, personal care products. And then we also have these giant 30-gallon barrels in the middle of the shop. And that is what gets shipped to us. A lot of people come in and think that I've made everything. And that just kind of speaks to the education component that you need. Have you ever walked into a store and assumed that the person made everything in that grocery store? No, it can't be done. Like, first of all, I'm like, this space is all that you see is the space. We don't have a manufacturing facility, a bottling facility. And you don't want me to make the products because I don't know how to make soap, let alone, 60 different kinds of soap. So there's definitely an education component for a lot of people that are first time, visitors that are just walking down the street and happen to walk in the shop. So just kind of, I kind of try to get a feel for the person. Like, is this your first time, or are you new to the area? Some of those kind of questions to kind of lay the groundwork, because I don't want to be like preaching to the choir if they already know what they're doing. We have a little weigh station right at the front. So you want to weigh your container first, even if it's just a lightweight bag, because it does have a weight and we don't want to charge you for something you already own. So you get the beginning weight of your container and then figure out what you want to put in it. And you can, the best part about refilling is that you don't have to fill up your container all the way. If you want to just try something, you can just get like literally 1 ounce of it. And that's all you have to pay for. And then you get the weight at the end. That way, our system, I just put in the beginning weight and the ending weight, and our system does the math and figures out how much to charge you. And it's just that simple. I do have to say that I kind of have to forgive myself for not doing this sooner myself, because I would say maybe 15 years ago, I was trying to figure out a way to go to the bookstore and bring a cloth bag. And so I made a cloth drawstring bag, and I held on to that for probably 4 years before I did anything with it, because I was so intimidated by what if they say I can't do this? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? They just say, no, you can't do that. So don't let those little things keep you from trying it out, because a lot of places will let you do it. I mean, maybe they, don't have the infrastructure set up to weigh your containers. So in those kind of cases, I recommend using a cloth bag because it weighs a lot less.
Yeah, I've got some really fine mesh bags that they're not going to work for sugar, but for pretty much everything, they weigh like 5 grams. Yeah. So unless I'm buying like pine nuts or something crazy, it kind of comes out in the wash. It's like 2 or 3 cents. So yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
So what kinds of things can people refill? I think we all have sort of like the health food bulk section in our mind. Like, okay, I can get oats and beans and things like that, which are awesome. And I do that every Sunday. But what other things can people refill? Like, what are some of the more popular refills?
Well, when I first started, I did want to have a full grocery store, but then I realized getting permitting and business license for a food facility was a whole nother giant thing that I didn't know how to do. And also I didn't have that kind of money. This was all, out of my personal bank account. So I focused on just personal care products and cleaning products. So we have things like, think about everything that you would need in a day to wash your face. We have face wash, to wash your hair, body wash, even things like nail brushes. We don't do much in the way of makeup because I have a neighbor just a couple doors down that does clean beauty stuff. So I send people over there, which is great. And as far as like the food, we also have a neighbor just 3 blocks from us that does grocery store in bulk. So I send people there for the grocery store stuff.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. We have a awesome community.
Little circular referral system, and you all work together. Imagine that. Yeah.
And then in terms of cleaning products, we have, laundry detergent. We have every kind of laundry detergent you could want, liquid, powder, and then glass cleaner, toilet cleaner. Like, I know you can get by with the most basic things. I think a lot of people are intimidated by all the different products that are on the shelves, but if you can just get by with vinegar, baking soda, and then maybe some Castile soap, or Sal Suds, which is also made by Dr. Bronner's. It's a concentrated soap that is a great degreaser, that you can get by with a lot less stuff. But we have options for people that feel like, no, I want a separate product that's ready to go. I don't want to mix anything. I just want to put it in my spray bottle and do the thing. So we do have some of those. But like, if you come in and you're like, I only have, $10 to spend. I don't want to, buy all the things. What can I use that's going to be like a multi-purpose for everything? And so we can kind of steer that customer to what are the basics. Like, you don't have to buy all the things. So
yeah, Sal Suds is great. Back before we had any refill stores here, I would order the gigantic jug of Sal Suds from the Bad Place, from Amazon, because that's all I had access to at the time. Yeah, but I remember writing the date that I bought it on the jug so I could see just how long it lasted. And at that time, I was making dish soap, I was making laundry detergent, all those different things. And I don't do that anymore because I do have access to a refill shop where I can purchase the dish soap and the laundry detergent that are made by a small business here in Canada, for example. So I can support my local shop and I can support the maker and that kind of thing. So you can make everything yourself if you want to, if that's what you like to do. And if you're over it, you can also just buy the toilet cleaner. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, that was me too when my kids were little, or even when I was, just first pregnant with my first one. I was like, I got to make all the, I made the laundry detergent, I made toothpaste, like everything. And I realized very quickly once baby came that was not realistic. First of all, driving to all the different stores to get the ingredients. No, that doesn't make sense. Why don't you just buy the product that's already good ingredients made by somebody that does it better than me anyway? So, and then, supporting a local business.
So what do you find are some of like the biggest misconceptions that people have or apprehensions that they have when they're switching over to sustainable living like this?
I think that a lot of people assume that it's going to cost more, and it can cost more, but it's all in how you approach it. Like I mentioned, when people come in with a certain budget, we can make recommendations. We get a lot of college students that come in and they're like, I don't, first of all, they don't have a lot of storage, so they're not going to buy a gallon of something. They just need enough to do like a load of laundry this week. So they can buy just, a quarter of a cup of laundry powder and do their laundry. So we can, work with you if you are limited in funds, and you don't need to come in and buy the expensive reusable containers. You have to-go containers from the last time you ordered Chinese food or whatever, and reuse that. I know that there, people maybe don't want to use plastic. Okay, if you don't want to use plastic, that's understandable. Use what you have. If you want to use mason jars, or if you want to, invest in a nice fancy metal container, great. But you don't have to do all of those things. So I try to, let people know that there's all these different levels, and you don't have to buy all the things at the beginning. In fact, I don't want you to do that. That's a waste. Use what you have first, and then we can fill in the gaps. That's why we have all of the options that we do, because everybody has different gaps in their life of what they need. So, yeah.
I think it forces you to slow down too and think about like, wait, what do I actually need? Because throwing out everything you have just to replace it with something, quote, like more sustainable, you're just doing the capitalism in a different way. Like, it's not about replacing everything you already have, but really taking a hard look at what do I actually need to use? And is the thing I already have good enough? And that's hard because we're trained to be like good little consumers and okay, I'm going to do this new thing now, so I have to buy new stuff. And you really don't. If it is something that you want to invest in, it is something that you really take some time and consider, like, is this the thing I actually need that's going to help me live the kind of life that I want to live? So I didn't buy the containers until the kids started going to school, because we didn't need them for snacks. Like you said, I had random plastic containers that they're just going to chuck out of the stroller anyway. And I have to admit, we've lost our first lunch container last week. And my son had made it from junior kindergarten to grade 9. So I think we nailed it. I am bereft, but it's okay.
I think you jinxed it when you said in your podcast, we haven't lost one yet.
I said that to him. I'm like, now you made a liar out of me, son. But I mean, he remembered it every single day for 10 years. And he switched out his lunch bag and forgot what his lunch bag was. So, and that's just real life. Like, it's going to happen. It's fine. But instead, what we're doing is going, okay, well, I'm not going to run out and buy a new container because we have random stuff in our cupboard. So we're going to make use of those like solo cups from sushi or whatever for it was the little container, the little yogurt container we lost. Okay. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, we're just going to make do with what we have.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. So in addition to it can be more budget friendly, it's more environmentally friendly, but why does refilling matter? Not just for those sort of personal reasons, but for communities and for systems change.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, I really appreciated hearing from you in the early days was, small steps matter, those little small steps. And that's kind of where, that was kind of my mindset, is like, we can't all do everything, but everyone can do something. And refilling one container in the grand scheme of things is nothing. But since we started in 2017, we have refilled over 100,000 containers in our community. And I feel like that's a big win. I mean, that's not even including like the reusable bags that we've sold or reusable containers. That's simply how many refills we've done. And I'm sure there's some I've missed because our system can't capture everything. But that's a pretty big deal. So the idea of collective action, we all have different roles to play, and not everybody is going to be able to go buy, or it's, to have like an electric car, or to not drive at all, or to afford like really sustainable clothing, or, there's so many different avenues of trying to reduce your impact. But those little things add up together as we come in community and make those small changes.
Yeah, that first time you fill a jar is really a gateway for me to, ooh, what else can I do? So I just love my jars. I think we all know that.
Yes. And we have a shelf where people donate empty and clean jars. So if people come in and they're like, oh shoot, I forgot, we're like, it's fine. Just take one of these. They're free. You can keep it or you can bring it back, but it's yours now. So you decide what you want to do with it. So we do have some people that are about the aesthetic, and they come in and they like, I just want all my things to match. I want, all clean beauty, or I want everything, it's about the non-toxic ingredients. So it doesn't really matter what you're in here for, what brings you into my shop. We can help you get there. And maybe you came in for the aesthetic, but then stayed for the endless refills. So we're here for that.
if making your Pinterest like Pinterest worthy, like, ooh, all matching jars, like if that is going to make you do the thing. I used to be really judgmental about that. And now I'm like, great. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Like amazing. Because once everything's in jars, it just looks prettier anyway.
It does.
So if having it like look pretty makes you want to do the thing, yes. Okay. That's great. Yeah.
And then again, on the flip side, like, who cares if it doesn't match? And if your vibe is like, you know, putting pretzels in, you know, a reused Ziploc bag that you've used 70 times, who cares? You know,
I have both.
It's yours.
I've got the glass front cabinet with like the fancy vintage ball jars with the glass tops. And then my pantry behind the closed door is a hot mess express of reused Ziplocs and old protein powder containers full of pretzels. When you said pretzels, I was like, oh God, no one look at my pretzels, because it can be both. It can be both. Yeah.
Exactly.
So beyond both of us running small businesses and doing work in our communities, and we both have another full-time job, and that is being moms.
Yeah.
And I find now that my kids are older, I think our kids are roughly the same age, preteen, teen age. I do find a lot of the conversation around sustainable parenting tends to focus on babies and younger kids, which is fair. That's where a lot of consumer products are marketed toward. And so it does make sense that that's where you got to buy a lot of gear, all that kind of stuff. But there's a whole other set of challenges and lessons that come in the teen years. So what's it like in your household? How are the teen years going when it comes to our eco habits?
Well, as a fellow mom, you understand that you will never be cool to your children, no matter what. So I've accepted that. That's okay. But they, you know, they were both cloth diapered, and we still have their cloth diapers as cleaning rags in our house. So they have been in this from the beginning in terms of understanding everything that we purchase, we own, and we need to take care of it. And we also don't want to spend our money, you know, in systems that are harmful to our environment or to people. So they are normal teens, and also they are pretty cool because they love to thrift store shop. So we, my daughter just had a high school dance, and the theme was La La Land. It was so cute, but she didn't have the right vibe. And I was like, that's cool. I understand. So her dad took her to the Goodwill by her house, and she found like 2 or 3 options, and it was perfect, like the perfect dress for this La La Land dance. She already had shoes and tights and like everything else. So and then she borrowed a purse from me, and like that was her outfit. And they both, like when we did back to school shopping, all we did was go to a thrift store, and they just got a few key pieces to like update their wardrobe, but they still wear their other stuff. So our aesthetic at home is very much vintage anyway. We have a lot of like 70s, you know, paintings on the walls, and like it's kind of our vibe anyway. So they love vintage, and I'm grateful for that. But you know, also there's a lot of things that you encounter as a parent that is a struggle, like birthday parties. You know, I'd let them take the goodie bags. That's fine.
Same.
But we just kind of try to set the tone at our own house. One of my favorite birthday parties that we did, we don't do a ton of birthday parties anyway. Like we just do like the big milestone ones. We usually just do like a family day at, you know, Knott's Berry Farm or something like that. But my son, for his 10th birthday, he was like, I really want to have a party. I was like, okay, let's do it. And I don't like to bake, so I wasn't going to make cupcakes or cake or anything. But what I did is I went to the thrift store and picked out the silliest mugs I could find, all of the like, you know, world's greatest boss kind of just dorky mugs, and washed them, of course. And then I printed out recipe cards for mug cakes. And I had all the ingredients in cute little jars on the table, and the kids they're all 10-year-old boys. They made their own cake, and then I scooped some ice cream on top. Well, after we put it in the microwave, it's microwave mug cake. So we cooked the little cakes first, and then I put ice cream, and they had a blast. And so their takeaway was the mug. They got to keep the mug and a little recipe card so they could make it at home. They loved it. There were no complaints from kids like, wait, where's my goodie bag? And the games that they played were just very like analog, just like there were no phones out. There were no, gaming going on. It was just like boys playing outside. And it was like, oh, this is the best.
Yeah, my son's birthday is early in the year. And so we just did like snow fort in the front yard. Oh, and it was like that. 14 out of 10. We're like, drop your kid off with their snow pants. We're doing snow fort. And that mug cake idea, I'm just over here trying not to cry because that is brilliant. You've got your activity, you got your cake, you got your takeaway. That one's going in the Hall of Fame. That's incredible. Oh my goodness. I have a blog post on zero waste birthday parties, and I'm going to have to clip this in because that just blew my mind.
Go to Pick Up Lime's website, and she's got like 2 or 3 different recipes for mug cakes, and it's all plant-based. So, awesome. It's allergy friendly. You can make some swaps. But yeah, it's a solid recipe.
So smart. That's incredible. Wow. Do you find that your kids influence you in return?
Yes. When I was thrift store shopping with my daughter, she was just like, I go and I just like, if I need something, I'll get it. But she was like looking at the tags, and she's like, I'm not getting anything that's from, is it Sheen or Shein, whatever it's called. Know. She was like, she was looking at the brand. She's like, I don't want to support any of those brands. I was like, good for you, kid. I didn't, if I see something, it's used. So but I also pay attention to materials. I just don't like the feel of synthetics anyway. And she doesn't either. She's very sensory minded. So she's like, oh, I just don't like the touch of that. She's looking for cotton and, just natural fibers. So, but yeah, they definitely challenge you. They have been the lead in some of the boycotts that I've done. And we challenge each other. It's great.
It's neat how they just sort of take what we've laid as a foundation and then apply it to their own life and bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inspiring.
This one I'm really struggling with, like just given the state of global affairs.
Yeah.
How do you approach the bigger issues? Like you just mentioned boycotts or, climate change and consumerism, these bigger things that in a way that doesn't like overwhelm them or scare them or make it seem like, and again, I don't have the answer to this myself, but it's really hard to be like, these things are important, but not be like, you're growing up into I don't know what's going to happen, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's a challenge we've all been through, like since time immemorial, but right now in this moment, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. I also do not have the answers, but I try to focus both my family and my business on the local mindset. What can we do locally to have the biggest impact? If it's attending our city council meetings to, voice our opinions on something, or going and volunteering at beach cleanups. I mean, those are all very like basic things, but I think just getting rooted in a community it's for me, at least personally, been the biggest life-changing thing for me. I didn't even know who my mayor was when I had my job at a desk. I didn't know any of the city council people. I wasn't plugged in at all. I voted in like the major elections, but I didn't do the local things, which is where it has the most impact.
Yeah.
And there's so many grassroots nonprofits too. I'm fortunate enough to be one of the founding members of our local Long Beach Reuses Coalition. And we do a ton of community stuff. So we have a Fix It clinic every quarter where people can bring in, if they have a broken fan, or, they need help mending a pair of pants, there's somebody there to help you with that. That's been really great. And then in October, this is our third year of doing something called BYO month. And it's a citywide thing. We've even got people in the city of Long Beach helping promote it. And we hand out these little cards, and it's like a little game. Gamifying things really helps. And so it's this little game where you collect stamps at all these different businesses that are part of this list that accept reusables. So it could be coffee shops, grocery stores, stores like mine. It can be doing things like bringing your compost to the community compost. There are all these just different actions locally that you can do, and each place has a little stamp. So as you go, you collect all these stamps, and then once your stamp card is full, you can be entered in a drawing for different prizes. Like there's, gift cards to local businesses, or different experiences, and some like reusable utensil sets. So there's all different kinds of prizes at the end. But what really matters is just getting out into the community and finding those local businesses that support this model. So you're supporting them financially with your dollars and voting with your dollars. And we do other things throughout the month too. We're hosting at my shop a rain barrel workshop. So people can purchase a rain barrel if they want to, or just learn about it and understand that it is not illegal to harvest your rainwater, despite many people thinking that.
Really?
And then, there's some rumor that got started that it's illegal to harvest rainwater, but it is not, especially in California. It's absolutely not illegal. So that, we're just doing a bunch of, and we're kicking it off with a viewing of the movie called The Story of Plastic. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that? It's a depressing movie, but it's very important to understand why plastic is so harmful from the beginning all the way to the end, and how many people are getting their cut of the dollar, and how many people are being harmed in that process. So, that's kind of how we start the month, but then we, throughout the month, do all of these really uplifting community things to show you that it is not the end. We have a voice, we have an impact on all of these things. So if you think about just one person doing one thing, no, it's not much, but all of the community doing this, I mean, not everybody's doing it. We're still working on getting the word out, but it's really exciting to see it happening here in our city.
But there are people doing it, I think, is the key message. Like, I was just going to ask you, like, what advice would you give to somebody who feels overwhelmed and doesn't know where to start? And you just said it. There are people doing things.
Yeah.
Just come find us. Like, just put it in the Google machine. Like, what's going on near me? Facebook groups. Again, I talk about this almost every episode. This is how I accidentally joined a bird watching group. I just went to a talk at the library, and now I've been doing citizen science for the last, 10, 11 years. So and that's how I met the folks doing Plastic Free Aurora. We're like tangentially associated with the bird group. And it's neat that you mentioned this thing going on in October, because here in Canada, it's Circular Economy Month for October.
Oh, I love that.
So across Canada, there are things happening in your community for Circular Economy Month. You can find them on Instagram, but there's all kinds of stuff going on, whether it's a repair cafe or our local library is having a stuffed animal hospital, which is so cute. So there's all kinds. Your library, I think that's the other thing I wanted to mention is just head to your library and look at what's going on the bulletin board and what their events are and what you can borrow from them. And that's also how you're going to find either like your people or something that sparks something in you. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And now, then you're just a bird watching person.
And, that goes back to find whatever your thing is, because bird watching, you're helping the birds, and, you're sending messages out about not putting yarn out for the birds, and like you're educating your micro community about that. And whatever it is that you're interested in, you can be part of that. So you don't have to do all the things.
that was really my pathway to my town council, was trying to protect. There's like a certain parcel of land here in town that was like, well, it's supposed to be a reserve, but let's parcel bits of it off to developers. And it was like, oh my God. But that's one of the things that our group did was, well, we're going to town council about this. Like, we can't just bitch about it to ourselves. That's all well and good, but what can we do? And that's how we started, working with town council. And that area has now been declared a nature reserve. And they actually named it after the fellow who started our group.
Oh my gosh.
Decades ago. So we were, he's since passed, but it's lovely to go there and think about the influence that David had on my life, and what's led me to become more intimately involved with, wildlife and naturalization right here in place where I live. It's suburban sprawl, but it's also not. And he really changed my perspective on that and helped me love this place more deeply, when before it was just going to be a stopover for 15 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes we have to be comfortable with knowing that we may not see the fruits of our labor, but keep going, because it's worth it. I mean, you just keep going, and it will change your life, even if you may not see the end results. So all of it matters.
Yeah. I find too that when I do these things, it exposes me to people that I would likely not have interacted with before. And that, whether it's just based on age or what kinds of work we do or politics or any of it, we're doing something in common together. And I think that in the year 2025 is also really important, is anything that helps you put your phone down and work with other people to accomplish a goal is going to change your area for the better.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I appreciate about being a small business owner. My main location is located in the East Village Arts District, which is a very cool, local business, a lot of women-owned businesses, little neighborhood with tons of cool Art Deco architecture. But connecting with all of these small business owners that I never would have met otherwise. Some of us may have different politics or completely different, backgrounds, but, we're working together to try to help with the unhoused population and making our streets safer, and community organizing to, plant some trees, or, we planted a butterfly garden on the corner of our street. I wasn't there. I had to work, but just seeing all of these things that I have nothing to do with, but seeing it happening all through the city, and it just makes me so proud of what we're doing locally. And yes, it can be overwhelming on a global scale, but seeing those little sparks locally keep you going.
Yeah, and these collaborations are really what help us thrive.
Yeah.
So, on that note, tell us about your partnership with the Algalita Marine Research and Education, and how did that relationship start?
Yeah. So, like I said, I kind of met them at this community event that was happening, and they had this space where I could sell some things in their shop. But at where that shop is located it's their headquarters, and they right next door is called the Moore Institute. And at the Moore Institute, they have a microplastics research lab. And so they have all of these crazy microscopes and tools and machines and computers to study and collect samples. And they have a lot of volunteers there. It's a really fascinating tour. For those that are in the area, you should definitely take a tour there. But the Algalita team is really focused right now on the education component, which is so important. They host school groups that come through, and they're from all over Southern California area, a lot of local ones, but some a little further away. And there's sometimes students that are in clubs, like their environmental club. But during the summer, they hosted a camp And they had all these students come through and they did these classes every day. Sometimes they would take them out on kayaks and they would take them down on the beach to show them what to look for when they're, sifting through the sand to find the microplastics. And they teach them everything from like the production of plastic to the harm that it does, and it can be really heavy. So they like to end their tour at the shop, and it's such a perfect ending to see there are solutions to these things. So by the time they get to the shop, I give them a little tour and kind of describe to them like how to do a refill. And it's so cool to see the light in their eyes. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is, just seeing like a toothbrush that's made from bamboo, or just all of the different swaps that they can make in their household. And we always have, like I said, that little jar donation counter. And so almost always there's at least one or two students that are like, can I buy something? And we're like, yes, of course, if you want to. And so they're like, well, I have $2. What can I buy? And first of all, I'm like, well, what do you need? And so, we'll figure out what they might want to try out. And so they'll get like 1 ounce of lotion, or, I want to get this bar soap for my mom. And it's so cute to see them like, they only have a couple dollars, but they really want to invest in this idea, and then they take that home, and it just sparks something. And I love it. It's it's another thing that gives me hope.
Yeah, that's such a lovely example of how individuals and nonprofits and businesses and communities can all collaborate together to push for bigger change. And I actually think the little lotion in the jar is a perfect metaphor for us to end on here, because I always like to end every episode with the one small shift segment. So that's just what's like one little thing that can make sustainability feel doable to the average person. So Julie, what's one small practical shift that you would encourage someone to try today, whether it's trying refill for the first time, chatting with their teen, something we could take away today? Yeah.
I think that, like we talked about, how it can be such an intimidating process to start the first time you refill. I think we need to get past that. Challenge yourself to find one thing that might be refillable in your community. There may not be a refill shop in your community, but there might be a store that allows you to bring a reusable cloth bag, or like if you buy something at the meat counter, maybe if you take a glass container with a lid, maybe they'll allow you to put it in that. There's a lot of different things you can do. And even if you're not able to do any of those things, maybe you have a friend that's also kind of interested, and you can go in together on buying a gallon of something and split the cost. And then that 1 gallon of shampoo or laundry detergent, whatever it is, it saves multiple smaller plastic containers. So there are ways to hack the system, even if you don't have a refill shop. So yeah, I guess it would be just challenge yourself to try one more thing. If you're already refilling a bunch of things, maybe there's one more thing that you can swap out and start to refill it.
I love that. You just reminded me of something. I completely forgot about this, but the closest refill shop to me used to be over an hour away. And a friend of mine and I, every couple of months, we would carpool together, but also bring a bunch of other people's containers that they would write, like, I want laundry soap, I want this, I want that. And we would just go together and just get everybody's refills. So you could just do that too. Just carpool for your refills together. And that's a cool way you get to hang out with your friend too. So I completely had forgotten about that. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Yeah. I mean, how cool is that? Like doing a community thing with somebody that is just as simple as getting your groceries or, your cleaning products. Like you don't have to go to a coffee shop and spend money. Go do your groceries together. I love that.
Yeah. So, Julie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and your perspectives. And before we wrap up, where can people find you and Bring Your Own Long Beach if they'd like to connect or visit you in person?
I'm most active probably on Instagram, Bring Your Own Long Beach. I also have another account for specific to the East Village location because we have a lot of like events specific to that. So I just wanted to have that separate. And it's just BYO Long Beach. The website is byolongbeach.com. I will say we're not shipping internationally because we want you to support local.
Yep.
So, yeah, the website, Instagram. I'm also on other things, but I'm less good at staying on top of it.
So many things. I'm going to put all those links for everybody down in the show notes too. So then you'll be able to, we'll sort it out. I'll put them all down there.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Julie. This has been lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. So fun.
I hope you enjoyed that chat with Julie. She is such a cool person, and I have learned so much from her over the years. And thank you for listening. Everything we talked about today is linked down for you in the show notes, including a few more resources and blog posts if you want to dive a little deeper. You'll also find links to the newsletter, my shop, all that kind of stuff is all there for you to make sustainable living feel more doable in your everyday life. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode, the best way to support the show is to leave a rating review or share an episode with a friend. Until next time, start where you are, use what you have, and live a little greener. Thanks for tuning in to Sustainable in the Suburbs. Every small step adds up, and I'm so glad we're doing this together. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow the show, share it with a friend, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me at sustainableinthesuburbs.com or at Sarah Robertson Barnes on all the things. Until next time, start where you are, use what you have, and live a little greener.